Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me check my volume, make sure I am good. And my mic is... I checked this because there have been bad times. I'll just say there have been bad times. The Indomitable Ralph Nader. Love me some Ralph Nader. Even before I was politically awake and politically aware, I voted for Ralph Nader. Democrats whine and complain and cry and bitch and moan about third parties. Oh, these third parties. Why don't they just help us? Why don't third parties help us? Why don't you just fall in line with the Democratic Party? It's a weird perspective. It's the perspective that Democrats own all of these votes. And if there's a third party out there, somehow they're taking votes away from Democrats. Votes are not owned. Votes are not owned by anybody. Well, the individual themselves, but the voter themselves can vote for whoever they want. If a third party comes up that's representing the interests of the public more than what the major parties are, sad day for the major parties. Get over it. Get over it. Either you do what you need to do in order to get those voters back, or get over it. Somebody else is out there representing and pushing and advocating for their interests more than you are. You've lost their vote. Now, instead of bitching and whining, complaining and moaning and crying about how, oh, these third parties, go get their votes. They're not owed to you. The failings and the fuck-ups and the foibles and the problems and the troubles of the Democratic Party, where they've lost 1,100 seats, where they've lost the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency. Mind you, that seat they lost to reality show hosts. This is the most rapacious bunch of Republicans in the history of this country. These people are maniacs. And the Democratic Party lost 1,100 seats, the House, the Senate, and Supreme Court, to a bunch of maniacs. That is a dark mark on you. That is your failings. That's how bad you are from the standpoint of the public itself. You are losing millennials in this process. You've had, even though you got 90% of the black vote, you had a lot of them also peeling away. Workers. Peeling away. Peeling away. That's not a dark mark on them, by the way. That's a dark mark on you. That's a dark mark on you. Instead of coming to Jesus after this last election, after all the failures, after the gross, over-the-top, unmitigated failures, instead of coming to Jesus and having this honest thing of, okay, we need to change, you double down. Russia hacked us. Russia hacked us. Donald Trump and Russia colluded. Donald Trump and Russia colluded. Never addressing the failures. Never addressing why you lost 1,100 seats. Never touching those issues at all. Believing that you can skate and run on this idea of Donald Trump being a menace, Donald Trump being a maniac, and get back into your offices with status quo. Making the argument that there's nothing wrong with status quo. The public has put us back into our seats, and so the world is good. Let's keep this train a-ticking. Ralph Nader, the Indomitable Ralph Nader, has a message for those Democrats who are still bitching and whining and moaning and complaining about third parties. Look in the goddamn mirror. The problem is with you. It's not with the third parties. Love me some Ralph Nader. Let's hear Nader. He's on Ari Melbourne. Breaking it down.
They should take the third-party agenda away from it. They should have a living wage, just crack down on corporate crime, I think the Democrat Party should take the third-party agenda away from it. They should have a living wage, just crack down on corporate crime, full Medicare for all. What do they expect to do? They have the third party supposed to help them? A democracy is only a democracy if it has competitive elections, contested election, not...
And by the way, that point, it always trips me out. It's almost it's like saying the Green Party should help the Democratic Party. Why the fuck would the Green Party ever help the Democratic Party? Why would any party help any other party? It's one thing if they're in some kind of alignment. You're not in some kind of alignment. That's like saying, why don't the Republican Party help the Democratic Party? It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And yes, the result or their failings and how horrible they are as a party, they've tried to mask that by demonizing other parties. This is insane. It's like their strategy is, let's just get rid of democracy. Let's get rid of representative government. Let's just have people vote for us. That's what we want. We just want people to vote for us. We don't want to do anything in return for those votes. Let's let Nader continue. I don't want to interrupt Nader. Let's start him from the beginning.
I think the Democrat Party should take the third-party agenda away from it. They should have a living wage, just crack down on corporate crime, full Medicare for all. What do they expect to do? They have the third party supposed to help them? A democracy is only a democracy if it has competitive elections, contested election, not a two-party duopoly dialing for the same corporate dollars. It is a First Amendment. That's where the political bigotry comes in. But you're right. There are a lot of other things. 300,000 Democrats in Florida in 2000 voted for Bush. You're going to blame the Green Party for that? The Secretary of State and Jeb Bush shenanigans, you know all about that with the ballot. You're going to blame the Green Party for that criminality? That's why I call it political bigotry. Democratic Party, stop scapegoating, look in the mirror, and ask yourself why you cannot landslide the worst, the most ignorant, the most corporate indentured, the cruelest Republican Party in history. Look in the mirror.
Ladies and gentlemen.
He said the most ignorant party of the century. Jesus Christ. And let's be honest, he's right. They can't beat this Republican Party. They should be able to landslide this Republican Party. I've said it over and over again. The reason why Democrats lose is because of how horrible Democrats are. That's why. This brinksmanship. They believe that they can say we can keep this kind of parity with Republicans and still go for the same corporate dollars. He's right. I mean, he's right on all these points. He calls it political bigotry. I love that. Political bigotry. This idea of a two-party duopoly who's essentially looking for the same money, essentially being controlled by the same money and the same dollars. Love me some Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader is, of course, on point. He's also on point on the scapegoating, the blaming of the Green Party, the blaming of any other party that comes up. I love it. He's right. He's absolutely right. Well, I have the day off, so I'm having a pipe. The news today is awful. Let's not forget about the repeal of the carbon methane monitoring. I had not seen that one, Garden. Wow. Methane monitoring. Thank you, Garden. I'll check that one out too. I agree the GOP is more ignorant and obstinate than usual, but it's far from being the most cruel. That would be the Bush 2 administration. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know what you mean when you're saying the Bush administration by itself, but let's say it this way. The group of Republicans that are in there now are worse than Bush. That's what I think. Now, if you're saying they've never done anything that have got to the level of Bush, yes, I agree with you. Like, meaning Bush 2, the stupid one, the son. Fair enough, I agree with you on that. But they are angling to get to that point. They might not have gotten there yet. Would you say that once they cut Social Security and Medicare and everything else? Let's do this. Let's partition this into two ways. The domestic front versus the foreign policy front. On the domestic front, yeah, I think they're worse. I think they're hands down, I think they're worse. On the foreign policy front, no, he hasn't invaded a country, killed 1 million people. At least not yet. So, I mean, those are really shitty scales in and of themselves, but I would agree with you on that point. That's what I'm getting at. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it here. 20 minutes. God damn it. I was ready to stop this in 10. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you guys can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.